The Russian invasion of Ukraine, which began in February 2022, not only changed the balance of power in Europe, it also accelerated a rapprochement between Moscow and Beijing, which had been gradually building but gained decisive momentum from that moment on. Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping publicly formalized a military and economic cooperation partnership that is unprecedented in recent times. What was previously handled with a certain degree of historical caution between the two countries has turned into practical alignment, driven by Russia's need to circumvent the isolation imposed by the West and by China's interest in accessing energy resources and large-scale combat experience. In the following years, this relationship manifested itself in various visible ways. Russia redirected a portion of its oil and gas exports to China, accepting significant discounts in exchange for financial stability. Beijing, in turn, provided industrial components, dual-use equipment, and consistent diplomatic support in international arenas. In the military field, joint naval and air exercises in the Pacific have become more frequent. However, behind these public demonstrations, confidential documents and intelligence sources began to point to a deeper, more discreet layer of collaboration. In 2025, this more reserved layer became more concrete. A bilateral agreement was signed in July of that year in Beijing between officials and high-ranking members of both countries. It established training programs and specific exercises. In 2014, the Liberation Army was secretly sent to facilities of the Chinese People's Liberation Army, mainly in Beijing and Nanjing. The main focus of these courses was the use of drones, electronic warfare, and combined tactics. Some of these soldiers later returned to the battlefield in Ukraine, bringing with them the knowledge they had acquired. A few months later, an even more sensitive decision was made in Moscow. In August of last year, the Russian Defense Minister, Andrei Belousov, issued an internal decree authorizing the sending a delegation from the Russian armed forces to participate in training exercises at Chinese facilities. This decree confirmed that the initiative came from the highest level of the Russian defense structure. The delegation was led by Colonel General Rustan Muradov, and the secret training in question took place in November of last year at a military facility in Beijing. It was an intensive 3-week course focused on nuclear, chemical, and biological protection. Confidential Russian documents describe in detail what was taught: chemical reconnaissance, economic reconnaissance, radiation reconnaissance, and measures to protect systems and ventilation against contamination. The Russian soldiers attended classes taught by Chinese instructors and examined the nuclear reactor model used as a teaching resource to explain radiological contamination scenarios. If you want access to more in-depth, comprehensive analyses and exclusive content, such as videos, shorts, and live streams that are not released to the public, become an exclusive channel member for just 7 rays per month. Reports from European intelligence services indicate that at least 4 high-ranking Russian and Chinese generals from the radiological, chemical, and biological sectors were directly involved in the program as a whole. The documents obtained include complete lists of participants with ranks, affiliations, and security clearance levels. They also contain photographs showing Russian soldiers in uniform receiving instructions and Chinese instructors in a controlled environment. These images and reports were shared with European intelligence agencies, which confirmed the authenticity of the information through their own channels. The head of the European Union's foreign policy, Kaja Kallas, publicly stated in June that Brussels was aware of the training and that its implications were being evaluated. The revelation caused concern in European capitals, precisely because the issue of protection against radiological, chemical, and biological threats is considered particularly sensitive by the most modern armed forces. This is not basic combat training, but specialized knowledge about how to operate in contaminated environments and how to identify such threats on the battlefield. Both Russia and China denied the reports. The Chinese Ministry of Foreign Affairs denied the allegations and reaffirmed its neutrality in the Ukraine crisis, while the Kremlin called the media reports false. As for what these documents reveal, however, it goes beyond a simple exchange of instructions. They show that military cooperation between Russia and China has reached an operational level in critical areas. Russia, involved in a prolonged conflict, seeks to complement its capabilities with Chinese expertise in domains where the People's Liberation Army has invested significant resources over the past decades. China, in turn, offers advanced training infrastructure and at the same time gains direct contact with Russian military personnel who have accumulated real combat experience in Ukraine. This kind of exchange does not happen by chance. It requires mutual trust at the institutional level and a willingness to share knowledge that, in other contexts, would be kept strictly confidential. To continue watching this full analysis, do as our members do. Become an exclusive member of the channel for just $7.90 our dollar, $7.99 per month. Just click here on the join button. Now I want to know your opinion. Comment here. Comment below if these China-Russia bilateral exercises represent a real threat to world security. Your perspective helps enrich our discussion. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next videos. Amen.